Hello, I'm Mr. Franklin, and this is the 5 phases of the note-taking process. You may or may not hear my daughter in the background as we go through this. First thing, we're going to start a new set of notes. So this is on the next available page. So this is the back of that page where we wrote on the very first page of our composition book, we wrote a template for our notes. This is the back of that page right here, and this is the very next page. So I've put the title, the 5 phases of the note-taking process. I've put the objective, to learn about note-taking as a process that enables me to understand material, and I've put my name, block, and date. Now the reason I want you to put your name and block is as I'm grading this, it makes it go a lot faster for me if I can just take a quick glance and I'm not having to flip through a bunch of pages or over to the front cover to see whose notes I'm looking at. Then you're going to have an essential question. How do I take notes that actually help me learn and remember information? That's what these notes are about. So once we've written our essential question, we're going to go ahead and draw a line down, and we have a lot of notes, so you can go ahead and draw it all the way down to the bottom of the page. This space right here, we're going to leave it blank. We're going to use it later. So when we're taking notes, first we're going to create the notes. We're going to select a format. We're going to set up the page. We're going to record the essential question. We're going to take notes based on an information source. Now this source could be a lecture, it could be a book, it could be a video like this one. When we do our textbook times, you're actually going to take notes like this over the reading that you do out of the book. When you're taking notes, you have to select the information to record. Now in a video, yes, you can pause me, but in a lecture setting, like in college, you're not going to have time to write every single word down. You're not going to copy every word out of a book. You want to select important information to write down, which leads us to this, where you want to paraphrase if necessary. The danger with this in science is you have to retain the original meaning with a paraphrase, okay? Some people will try to put things in their own words and they lose the core of the meaning that they were actually reading. So be very careful of it, but you need to learn how to do that, and I'll work with you on that. Arrange the information to meet your objective. We're going to do some notes where you might be comparing and contrasting something. So this arrangement actually wouldn't help you. We would need to do a Venn diagram or something else. So we're going to be very flexible on what goes in our notes, but this format where this is blank and where we're taking our notes is going to be the same. So what is our objective? We're working on making notes that actually help me, okay? So are we meeting our objective? Well, let's check a couple things. Notice we want to be able to use these notes for studying, for figuring things out. We want to leave space between points as much as possible in order to go back and do revisions, make annotations on what we're doing. That's why we've saved this space to do some of that. And honestly, some of that you're not going to know how much space you need until you've done this a little bit and you get a feel for how you take notes for yourself. The next phase after you take notes, the next thing you need to do is actually process the notes. You need to think about them. What do they actually mean? Do you understand what the notes are telling you? So one of the first things to do that is revise the notes. This is really huge if it's live and it's based off of a lecture where you cannot record the individual. You really need to go back and as quickly as possible and take a look at your notes so that you can fix any mistakes, add any comments that you didn't get to make while the lecture was going on. I've given you a checklist at the end of revisions that we're going to be doing in our class. When you're revising, what you're doing is you're looking for main ideas and details. You have to identify them, you're going to select them, You're going to sort them, you're going to organize them, you're going to classify them. And when we do that with these notes, you're going to see that there's some things that I could have done better to better organize my notes. Okay? And that's okay. We're going to fix it later. One of the things we need to do is we're going to evaluate the relative importance of information and ideas in notes. And notice I drew a little box with little squiggles. So I drew a picture. Sometimes that's slower, sometimes that's faster than actually writing the word. The next phase is connecting our thinking. Once we've revised and we've processed through the notes, we need to connect our notes to things that we've known in the past, things outside of whatever the notes are about. So we need to think beyond the notes. We need to analyze them using inquiry, which means asking questions. We need to deepen our knowledge. We need to ask questions. We need to add our own thinking. Identify gaps or see how I visually did that? Identify gaps or points of confusion in our thinking. And we need to connect new learning to what you already know. Then we go into the phase of summarizing and reflecting on learning. Summarizing and reflecting on learning. So this is, we're taking all these little bits and pieces and they go into a funnel and they swirl around until they get to the light bulb, which is the image for learning. So we need to think about the notes as a whole, and we need to bring the most important points together to create a summary that captures the meaning and importance of content. And I'm at the end of my page, so I go to the next page, put my title and my block information. Notice I don't have any of that other stuff, I just have the title and the block information. So, importance of content, and reflects on how the learning helps you meet the objective. So there's our summarizing, and there's the reflection. The last phase, which is honestly the most important, is applying the learning. By using the notes, you can save them for labs. You can save them for your Learn It, Teach It, for example, or your POP project, because they could come in very handy. They can also be a tool to show that you are able to apply or demonstrate what you've learned. This system of notes can be very effective in helping you learn as well as explain content to someone who is not familiar with it. So that's it for the 5 phases of note taking. In the next section, we're going to look at the actual note, the revision checklist. You only need 2 columns on a clean sheet of on a clean page in your composition book. 2 columns, and then you're going to have 8 sections, 8 rows. And if you have a wide ruled notebook, every 3 lines in your wide ruled notebook, you're going to draw a line across, skip 3 more lines, draw a line across. So basically you have a table that looks like this, okay? So here are the first 3 revision things that we're going to be looking at with symbols. And notice that when they do the main idea and they underline it, they actually write main idea and underline it. If you want to use a highlighter, you're welcome to do so. I would then highlight this in my table. And then you have these 3. And then you have these 2. So with this whole body of notes in your notebook, you should be ready for our continued conversations about note-taking while we talk about physics. That's all I have for you today. Thank you, and have a good day.